Today, from picking apples to building Hazelcast, this is Confluent Developer.
Life doesn't happen in batch mode, and things might change not only on your side, but someone can go and change this database before you. What is this? How you did this? Like, where's database? Where's the SQL? As you know, there's no database. It's a memory. I always knew that I will be doing something with computers.
Hello there, everyone. I am Polak, and this is Confluent Developer, where we explore the different paths of how experienced engineers tackling complex problems. In this episode, I'm interviewing Viktor Gamov, from his humble beginning picking apples all the way to becoming a global voice in the data streaming world. Viktor's story is one of passion, play, and engineering. Let's get to it. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. I am your host, Polak, and actually today, we're two hosts, so it's going to be fun. But Viktor here is joining me as a guest to the show, and he'll be hosting a lot of other episodes as well. But he's truly special in the world of developer relations. He's built different streaming systems, and he is a fantastic storyteller. He's now working as a developer advocate here at Confluent, but he's also a YouTube creator, a conference speaker, a fitness guru, and a voice that helped shape lots of developers thinking about cloud solutions and data streaming in the world. So I'm very, very excited to have Viktor today with me. Hi, Vic.
Yes, thank you so much, Adi. And my usual long-time listener, first-time caller is not going to cut. I'm also co-host of Confluent Developer podcast, and I'm happy to be here as a guest. I think it's very interesting, the setup that our producers came up with, saying, hey, we need to introduce the host, but what would be the best way to introduce the host if one host will interview another host? So we do have some other episodes where we interview each other, so make sure to check this out on Confluent Developer YouTube channel and your podcast platforms.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to learn about the next host, right?
Exactly, yes.
So, Viktor, let's start from the beginning. We know who you are, right? You're very well known in the industry, but there's some things we don't know about you yet. For example, you've shared in the past a lot of things about your current role and maybe your previous role, but I'm curious, what was your first job ever?
Oh, yeah. My first job ever, probably the job, it counts where I make some money and doing something professionally. And it was actually doing my professional stuff. I was writing software. Small. My software didn't end up in the production, but I was doing software for an organization that was making automations for electrical switches. Like right now, everyone has smart house. Your electric meter will report information about consumption. But when I started this, it was somewhere around 2003. It was something only rich and famous can afford. So I was part of the team that was responsible for configuring some of the software. And one of the things that I learned during this job about this industrial automation systems that were kind of like designed to handle not the regular household stuff, but industrial things. And I also helping to administer this, and it was pretty good money. For a couple months working, I started working somewhere in September, and by the time when the new year will come, I made some good buck that my New Year holidays would be very, very, very fun. Obviously, spend a lot of on the on the entertainment, and but the technology-wise, I always knew that I will be doing something with computers. Like always knew, and I would continue to do this. And another big money that I made, but it was not related to computers, is in my university, my school, when you are freshman year, they have a tradition to send you for, I guess it's almost a month, to help a local farmer companies, specifically help to pick up apples. We do have. I lived in back in Russia. I lived in an area where the area was very fruitful, and you can grow pretty much anything there. So we had apples, and the students were sent to help to pick up those. Also made it pretty good buck there. I think with this money, I bought myself a cell phone and sweater.
Wow. Wow. So from picking apples, right, into developing different things for rich people houses so they can have smart houses back in the days where smart house wasn't a thing. All the way fast forward to today, it seems like, you had a very interesting development, and you always kind of been into the tech space, the gadget space, learning about all the new things, understanding all the new devices, building systems, and so on. And I'm curious, like when you think about your career, and you have pretty long, pretty interesting career, what are some of the hardest challenges that you had to solve? And, take me back, like, to any position you want, any, timeline that you want to share.
Yeah, I was thinking about this exact same question, because I had to ask this my fellow co-host Tim about the same question. I was like, okay, what would be something that also would be very interesting for our audience? If you haven't heard what Tim said, find the episode in our description and go listen it. So I would say a lot of interesting things I learned how to solve when I was in either pre-sales role or in professional services role. When I was at Hazelcast, Hazelcast was my first company that was kind of like commercial open source company, essentially product company. Because before that, I was doing a lot of consultancy work. And it was just, the banking software, or like software not related to bank, but somehow need to support business. I implemented the workflow system that helped to, perform approval of T&Es, like travel and expenses, travel and entertainment expenses. So we implemented this. But the most interesting, problems when you start solving this for many customers, not only like one particular problem. And with Hazelcast, we had this capability that allowed us. Hazelcast was in-memory data grid. It still is. I haven't followed for them, but I think it still is. Was pretty cool idea that I saw Hazelcast, the way how the Hazelcast worked at the Java one. So I was passing by their booth there. One of the co-founders, Fuad, was there, and he showed me like two computers. Like in one computer, he put something into HashMap. In another computer, he immediately read this. And I was like, what is this? How you did this? Like, where's database? Where's the SQL? As you know, there's no database. It's a memory in the because computers in the network now our network is a storage. So we're storing the data in the network. And it was pretty cool. And I was working with many customers on different Hazelcast implementations. But when we run this in one of the big not the concerns, but one of the requirements for the system to work fast is obviously a fast network. And we usually tell our customers that when you want to deploy this, it needs to be a local network. So it needs to be computers that ideally in the same rack, you will get the performance benefits if you're running this in connectors that like the computers that connected. But you can tell anything to your customer, but customer wants to do something I'm not saying stupid, but something that is not conventional, I would say. Usually they want to say, hey, what about we're going to span our cluster across, our few data centers, like how this would work. And one of the solutions that we came up with this was the kind of WAN synchronization. So we have two clusters, one cluster in one place, another cluster in another place. and we establish connection between those systems when like a wide area network. So in this case, the only certain nodes that will be responsible for synchronization, they will be, run the traffic through this wide area network, and only nodes that would be responsible handling data, they will not be affected. So your local applications still will have a low latency, fast access to in-memory cache, in-memory grid, and your in other cluster, in other applications that deployed in the same data centers in a different the location, they'll have access to their cluster. There's no latency, and we did this through actually, like, when it was implemented, it has points of integration. So the actual system that will be replicating can be pluggable. It can be, if you're running this in something simple like AWS and you just simply have two clusters in two different regions, you still enable connection between those two nodes. They establish connection to itself, and it works. One of the interesting challenges that we had to solve was how to run and replicate cluster across ocean.
Oh, the geolocation, yes.
Yeah, financial customer. They have a trading floor in New York. They have a trading floor in London, New York Stock Exchange, London Stock Exchange. Once you have a synchronization, and this is where I learned about the existence of interesting technology called Solus. And the Solus at that time included like a hardware where also, the very rich and famous customers can afford itself, because the hardware that was designed to push the messages between two nodes with super low latency. There's like their own TCP stack. There was if you have access to under ocean cable, you can plug these things on both sides, and stock exchange can afford this. If they afford to dig the tunnel, not the tunnel, they dig the cables between New York and Chicago in order to trading would be faster. They can afford to get a plug to under like transatlantic cable. So what we did, and what I did, I think I wrote like initial implementation as a part of POC with some customer that essentially used some API Solus provided, and basically synchronized to Hazelcast cluster through Solus adapter. Another things that I also solved for Hazelcast, and I think it was pretty cool, also use case that somehow echoed and maybe even paved the way to my current career, is handling what today probably everyone can do with CDC and Kafka and Debezium, use case of hot cache. So what is hot cache? Essentially, Hazelcast as a memory data grid was used in many applications as a cache on a different layer of application. For example, you have your database and you want to put some caching layer between your database and your application layer. You have certain code that will be talking to database, and this code will be, when you first time hit the cache, there's nothing there. Obviously, there would be read-through cache. It will go invoke this code, read this data from database, and after that, leave it inside Hazelcast. Another approach was Hazelcast was used as a plugin for Hibernate second-level cache. So you have multiple layers of Hibernate cache. One of this is kind of like a statement cache. Another one is actual data. And Hibernate provides the ways how different providers of like caching providers can implement second-level cache where the statement results would be cached. It's all fun and games, because Hazelcast was written in Java. There's a lot of like Java APIs to invoke, and read-through cache was very famous and very commonly used use case. But as you know, in many cases, life doesn't happen in batch mode, and things might change not only on your side, but someone can go and change this database before you, and you will not be able to get the fresh data until your records will expire. So Hazelcast provides different time to leave
TTL, yeah.
TTL configurations. So if your data will expire from the cache, and read through cache happens again. Obvious problem here, you fighting a latency and speed versus freshness and actual data. Because if data is not expired in time and it changed in database, your application will serve old data, and that is not actual data. So as we know right now, it's like the 10, 12 years after, it's actually solved quite easy by implementing the change data capture connector. It can be DBZoom, it can be a Kafka connector, DBC connector, whatever you have. But that time, you need to be a little bit more inventive.
Those it wasn't exist back then, right?
Specifically, you need to be more inventive when you're talking about a very specific and very expensive, again, database for rich and famous. You name it?
Right. I name it.
It's Oracle.
Okay.
And Oracle actually
still
had
famous.
Still famous and still for rich. There was a technology called Oracle Golden Gate that existed to do replication of this database. And one of the ideas that we came into fruition is that what about we use Oracle Golden Gate as our ways how we can refresh the cache. So things will happen. I guess everyone now in Kafka community know you write in database. Database will record this in write-ahead log somehow. Different databases have different technologies, but the concept is the same. And there would be some sort of API, or there would be some smart people that write the way how to read this binary log and extract this change, push it through Kafka, and on the other side you will update the cache. So we got to tap into Oracle Golden Gates and how Oracle will handle this kind of like a replication, change data capture thing. So I think it's one of the first times I actually use the Java bytecode disassembler, because I really wanted to see some bits of code what this connector, this like Golden Gate connector does, because there's APIs probably right now. It's well documented, because this is how like our connector for Oracle works right now. It's based on the Extreme API. You can read this, and Oracle will give you license to do these things. At the time there was nothing like this. I just found this Golden Gate jar and said like, okay, let me look at this one. I don't know if I actually violate some license and stuff, but with Oracle very can be very interesting with the kind of like the way how the people use their software. But yeah, it works. So the first implementation, this kind of like a proof of concept of hot cache, I implemented this. But after that, we switched to well-known vendor, and we also went very similar approach how to DBZoom does, like using through the APIs or like standard SDKs and things like that. But that time it was fun. It's kind of like interesting use case, and basically it's paved the way my future career with event-driven system, because life doesn't happen in batch mode.
Right, life doesn't happen in batch, and it's very interesting to see the evolution, and it's very interesting to also see how these learnings and these experience definitely shaped your career.
Yeah.
Now a quick word from our sponsor. Confluent Developer, the podcast, is brought to you by Confluent Developer, the website, which has everything you need as a developer of data streaming systems. And it's completely free. We've got curriculum, hands-on exercises, executable tutorials, the online data streaming engineer certification, also free, a way to find a meetup near you, those are free. Everything is there. I really want you to be successful in your journey as a data streaming engineer, and this is the site that has what you need. Check it out at developer.confluent.io. That's developer.confluent.io. Now back to the show.
Yeah, so if you think about like what are like 2 or 3 things that you will take with you forever, it doesn't have to be like technology specific. It can be also like learnings about how the world repeats itself sometimes, or anything that comes to mind.
Very good question. And to be totally honest, I was not prepared for this. But I always tell people there's two things. Like you said, come to in my mind. First of all, huge fan of Jason Sudeikis and his work at the Ted Lasso. If you haven't seen this, you couldn't find any more like a wholesome, like a heartwarming, very comfort food style of TV show. It's very good. About different people, different characters, different ways to look at the life, and stay optimistic. And one of the things that his character mentioned during this scene when they had this like a bar darts competition with former owner of the Richmond Football Club, he said phrase, "Be curious, don't be judgmental." So that helps, especially if you're engineer, you're learning something new. There's always room for you to learn something new or improve your existing knowledge about certain things. So be curious, not judgmental. If you think you know everything, maybe it's not entirely true. And there's always there's something you can learn from anyone else. And
Love it.
that's probably one of the things that I try to also teach my kids, because that staying optimistic and trying to find something that's especially right now it happens with the food. We introducing them to different foods and saying, I'm not gonna eat. I want to eat just a plain pasta and chicken wings or like chicken nuggets. We don't try oysters. Like, no, because it's why it's so slippery? Like, why? So be curious. Don't be judgmental. Be curious, not judgmental. And stay positive about certain things. I think it's also echoes with some of the advice that I get from someone. I'm trying to remember from someone, but someone who was very influential in my, upcoming years. And someone said that when you meet people, not everyone is a friend, not everyone is a foe, but there's always something this person can teach you. So when you're meeting new people, if you enjoying their company, you enjoying to be around them, try to learn like what makes them likable and what makes them them. And that's why I think this is the also very good kind of like a theme of this podcast in general. That's I'm also wearing my the co-host part the hat right now as well.
Welcome back to the co-hosting.
Yes, thank you. And I was thinking about how we like to focus on the human aspect of the technology.
Right.
We interviewing a lot of technologists, people who work in the industry. We know them as the technologists, people who driving things in the future. But what we want to show is like a human part. What drives them as a human. Yes, technology is cool. The Kafka is awesome. Data streaming is fantastic. But what drives us and what makes us as a developers, I think this is an incredibly useful thing that we do in our show. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Write down in the comments. Let us know what do you think about this.
Yeah, let us know. I always say, organizations are systems of people, and you have to build the right harmony to actually get things done and make it a good environment for people to work at. So 100% big believer in people first. So
speaking about people, when the people ask advice about like professional career, so I spent years in consultancy. After that, I switched to more customer-facing roles with customer engagement and customer building roles, and after that, I moved to more even more niche with the developer relation role. People asking me about career, asking about advice, and one of the things that people need to think about. One of the two most influential books that I read when I was kind of like at the point of my life where I didn't know where to go, or I kind of knew, but I was drifting a little bit. Everything was fine, but something was not settling. He was trying to figure out. It was Drive. Was a very good book by. Always forgetting the last name is Pink. I forgot his first name. It will come back to me. And Start with Why by Simon Sinek. Two books. Simon Sinek is basically like just a great author, great human being. And like if you ever seen his interviews, like he's super enthusiastic and talking about different, things about people, like dynamics and leadership and all these kind of things. He wrote the book about Leaders Always Eat Last, when he brought some of the examples from Navy SEALs, how they're, the leadership always allow to, younger servicemen to eat first. And what was the motivation? So you will be surprised, Answer will surprise you. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned in the next episode.
In Drive, there was a concept of, personal growth, and three things that I think I start value, and the three things that I started to look in my, future companies, people that I will be working with, people that I will be reporting to, is three things. First of all is mastery. Mastery is what I will learn during this run on this particular company. Many of people, or like generation of people in the past, they were not many, especially like older generations, they were kind of like a stayed in one place and worked there for years and years and years. In our generation, I like to look at everything as a kind of like a run. It can be a longer run, shorter run, but it's definitely, you can change the jobs multiple times within your course of your career. If you're not, that's good for you. Sometimes, and the mastery, that's the element that allows for me, for example, know what I will learn in this job. Like,
right.
When I heard about Kafka and Confluent, and I learned that I knew Tim that time quite all right. Yeah, we were, acquaintances on different conferences. And when I heard about Kafka and heard about Confluent and Tim's going there, I was just like, hey, I want to be there. I want to be in this industry because I know where this is coming. And this is where I can learn a lot. Also, I do have some experience with the technologies. I've been in the world of distributed systems for a while before that. And like this, like a mastery piece that was very attractive for me to go this route. Second one is a value. Essentially, I understand what kind of like work I'm doing is actually bringing not to me, how this will work that I'm doing changing other people's life. So that's why understanding like what kind of like a value Kafka and streaming and all technologies will bring this also was super excited. And being kind of atomic, that's the third part, like being in a group of people where you have some freedom to make your own decision, build some decision, and make sure that this is something that people also welcome to get. So if you work on, some people like to work to be told what to do. To be honest, majority of the people, like smart enough people, you don't need to tell them what to do. They see bigger goal and they know how to fix the smaller things along the way. So that's why like being atomic, being like having this like atomacy in work, this is something incredibly useful, at least for me. So three things: atomacy, mastery, and not the value, purpose. I'm sorry, it was a purpose. Kind of like understanding that what you do is not just like doing like bunch of numbers, even though probably it's also a respectable job. I don't want to offend anyone about this, but sometimes people don't see a bigger purpose of their work. They understand that this is 9 to 5. You get the things done. It's very transactional. You get things done. You get paid. Bring the bread on the table. Life is good. But beyond some of the motivational aspects, this is where this like a purpose, mastery, and atomacy lies.
Yeah, I think it's these are profound three things for people to definitely take away. Vic, thank you so much for sharing your stories and your expertise and your learnings. It was was fascinating. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I will see you in the streams.
See you in the streams.